So when was the last time I heard a really insightful question? I think the thing about insights is we're always coached throughout this work to develop an insight that feels truly groundbreaking, that is something that is not just an observation, but something that is something you've authored, something that feels truly transformational. And that comes with a lot of pressure, particularly as a young strategist when you're first starting out, because you feel this immense source of pressure to come up with something that is really revolutionary. And something I've been thinking about a lot in my own work is how to think about more insightful questions rather than always having to have insightful answers. Because if you can prompt more interesting questions, you might get more interesting answers out of people as a result. So that works really effectively when you're talking to consumers. It works really effectively when you're talking to clients. It works as a great creative springboard when you're working with your creative teams. And in all of those veins, it means that you don't always have to have one answer, but you can sort of open doors and create avenues, which ultimately creates more opportunity as a result. A lot of strategists ask me, where do I start when I'm trying to crack an insightful answer to something? And the first place I always sort of guide them to start is to think about what's the problem that they're trying to solve in the first instance. Because if you don't have that diagnosis right and you don't know what the problem is that you're going to solve, it's really hard to come up with even a ballpark of an answer, let alone try to hit the nail on the head in the first instance. And so I think unpacking the problem often starts with not just spending time with your clients, which of course is really important and really impactful, but spending time understanding what it is that the consumer behavior currently is and what you might be trying to shift people to, understanding what the cultural dynamics are around you so that you know the context within which your work is going to sit, and understanding what's happening in the category and the dynamics of how the category itself is shifting. So sort of 3 examples of that. In the Snickers campaign, You're Not You When You're Hungry, which has been running for 10 years now, the question we wanted to answer there was really to understand how it is that young guys are relating to one another, because we knew that this was a target audience we really wanted to reach. And we needed to understand what that dynamic really looked like. And so we spent time with young guys really understanding what it is that makes up their relationship, how it is that they interact with one another. What we saw was there's this constant banter and there's constant back and forth in the group. And if you aren't participating in that, if you aren't acting like yourself, and you fall out of the group, it's quite hard to pull yourself back into the group, and you are then on the outside. So observing that dynamic and starting to think about how we might link that to a product benefit around Snickers became a really good insight generator for the brief. In the case of Barbie, which is another campaign I worked on, Barbie was all about understanding the cultural context around us and going, there is a burgeoning new wave of feminism. This is around 2014 popping up. You have Beyonce appearing on stage with the word feminist behind her, and Chimamanda's piece in Beyonce's lyrics, and you have the beginnings of Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign are sort of starting to bubble up. So you're really seeing this new wave of feminism, particularly sort of across America, and starting to recognize what role Barbie was going to play in that space became really important as a result, because this is a doll that's been vilified for what she looks like. So how do you place that in a context where women are reasserting their true value that is far divorced from what their looks bring? And then another campaign that I think I've always admired is the SAINSBURY'S Try Something New Today campaign, and that was really about understanding category dynamics first and foremost, and recognizing that when people were going to the grocery store, they're just buying on autopilot. I mean, you've done it, I've done it. You walk into the store and you go, yeah, I know how to make a Thai green curry, so I'm just going to pop these things in my basket, and off I go. And recognizing that through some observational work and some deep data diving, that we really just needed people to spend £1.14 more per shop in order for Sainsbury's to reach these really, really aggressive, sales goals. And so that's the genesis of Try Something New Today, which is just to encourage people to put one additional thing into their basket and see what they might create as a result. So I think with each of those examples, we were able to better define the problem because we had a better sense of what the context was that surrounded it. So where do I go for inspiration? I think One of the best bits about this job, and I'm definitely not the first person to say this, is that inspiration can come from anywhere, that creativity can come from anywhere, and it means that if you like engaging in culture, whether that's high culture, low culture, always the balance of both, it means that you can learn new things and apply things to this role wherever you go. I always love a podcast, right? I'm always about podcasts. I walk a lot to and from work, so I get quite a lot of inspiration from that. I get inspiration from talking to people and just sort of being out in the world and the random conversations that you strike up with people. In this role here at Purpose, it relies a lot on our understanding of the political context of things. So I get inspiration from trying to talk to people who have different political views than what I have, because that way I don't reinforce my own echo chamber inadvertently. I talk to my friends, I talk to my husband, I talk to my parents, I talk to my parents' friends. You know, the more you sort of get out there and just chat to people and have an understanding of where they're at, the more you're able to meet them where they are with the work that you might be doing. So anything you're doing can technically be constituted as work, but that doesn't always mean that you have to be having a terrible time. As a result, it can often be the best part of the job is the fact that you are receiving inspiration, receiving creativity wherever you go. One of the best parts about this gig as well is that when you reframe thinking about having an insightful answer to now thinking about having insightful questions, it gives you a multitude of avenues to walk down, and it gives you an opportunity to create something that wasn't there before, which is me sort of badly paraphrasing Neil Gaiman. But I think that opportunity to build something new and try something new and create different opportunities for new thinking is what makes this creative strategy. So I think in summary, my advice is always don't worry so much about finding the answer. Start with thinking about the question and see where it might take you.